we all have visionary in us. And so, again, it's an opportunity for us visionaries to walk the talk in the forum and the summit, and then with our families and our communities.
You're such a light.
Thank you.
You're such a light, man. That's really cool. It's so funny how someone can say something to you and it hits, right? And it's like, boom, oh, wow. Hey, I'm Armando Leduc, producer, film actor, and owner of Leduc Entertainment. I've chosen a life off the beaten path and wanted to find others that are doing the same. Spaghetti on the Wall is a show based on all of the years that I've thrown spaghetti on the wall and nurtured what stuck. We will share fun stories, ideas, tips, tricks, and more. Welcome to Spaghetti on the Wall. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on when you are consuming this podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Coach Bob Shenefelt, Robert Shenefelt. What's up, man?
Hey, how are you?
I'm
good to
great.
be here.
Can you hear that?
I can. Makes me feel good.
Great. That's awesome. That's what I'm here for. I wanted to make you feel good. You go by Coach Bob though, right?
Coach Bob works, yes.
Right on,
Thanks.
man. So I have had the pleasure of joining a group called the Visionary Forum. And I've been a member now, I guess, for 2.5, almost 3 months. And it was a group that was recommended to me by a friend of mine, financial advisor Rufus Crescent. Shout out to Rufus. He's been on the show. And
Awesome.
yeah, and so he was like, look, you should be surrounding yourself with other visionaries so you don't feel like you're so abnormal. And I said, yeah, you're right.
Well, I can't promise you that, but right.
But it was fun because I was like, oh, wow, look at a group of people that are like me, right? That think the way I do. And I was like, man, this is a really cool place. So I needed to have you on the show, wanted to have you on the show so you can talk about, why you started this group and sort of the history. So why did you start this group, Bob?
Well, I started my own business mainly because I saw a gap in our industry and I thought we could fill it, and we did. And I'm very good at inspiring, selling, and having fun. So we grew my business out of control and met a person by the name of Gino Wickman, who at the time was founding EOS, and he's one of my best friends today. And I sold to his first client, and I was his third client, and he helped me to realize there's value in structure. I, as a visionary entrepreneur, used to run from structure, and yet I realized if I put structure around things and people that matter most, I have room for magic and creativity and intuition within that structure. So that was cool. We grew our business. I sold it, and then didn't keep the structure in place. But what I found through EO and through the EOS community, that I wasn't alone. I felt like I was not a good business owner. And what I realized, I'm not a good business manager. So as I learned through EOS to step into that visionary seat, life was wonderful. And so I just thought I was crazy. And what do I do if all I'm doing is problem solving and connecting and having vision? I was brought up and thought that I had to do everything, be the first one in, last one out. And we kind of joke now that the visionary seat in an organization is very misunderstood by many, including us visionaries. So I said, okay, and I started working with a lot of visionaries from EO, the entrepreneur organization. I took many of them on retreats out in Colorado, and I became a coach, and that was wonderful. But I still felt like I was alone, and then a lot of my fellow visionaries were alone. Well, I sold my last business 7.5 years ago and became an EOS implementer, and realized a lot of visionaries, we talk in EOS to let go of the vine. And that means that once I have the people in place and the process in place to let go of the vine, well, then I find a lot of visionaries have a hard time letting go of the vine if they don't know what life beyond the vine is. Because my worth often was how much work I put in and how productive and how busy I was. So my wife and I created a system called iMatter, which is a life operating system. And our book is Unscatter the Chatter. Elevate your mind and expand your impact. And I was realizing that a lot of visionaries were really struggling with this process is great, but then what do I do? So I've done a couple in-person, what I call visionary forums in years past. And when the pandemic hit, I had some time on my hand, and so did a lot of my visionaries. So we did a virtual visionary forum, and we started meeting twice a month. And people are like, oh my God, I'm not alone. I'm not crazy. And I said, okay, this is a business. And so it's a community for visionaries to belong, transform, and serve their purpose. And so we realize we're not alone, to realize it's a safe space to share our fears and our dreams and not be judged, and to practice being vulnerable and transparent and trusting and really connecting not only with each other, but for each other. So it's really taken off. So kind of long-winded, which I often am, that it's just this group that we love to be together. And then we also have a thing called the Visionary Summit that twice a year we meet in person. And at the end of the last one in March, people didn't want to leave. And they're like, what is this? And it's like, it's a community of trust and love, And so we don't necessarily market it that way, but it's like, I'm not crazy. And we talk about, I don't want to network to you. I want to network for you. And so we're creating a lot of business because of it, and we mainly are just having a ball too. So it's been fun,
dude. It's been great. Really, really do enjoy. So funny, when I read Think and Grow Rich 20 plus years ago for the first time, and they had mentioned, the mastermind and all of that.
right?
I didn't really understand it, right, until I started hanging out with like-minded individuals on sort of
Right.
a higher level, and then they're sharing and solving problems on this high level. That's like, wow, what an impact. Did you ever
Right.
read 10X is Easier Than 2X?
I've seen him speak, and I have not read it. It's on my list, my EO forum. That's our theme for the next year. So I'll be reading or listening to it next week. But I was with Dan Sullivan for years. But yeah, I love the concept, and I agree with it. And that's where if I stay up at that 10X, life is easy. When I'm down in the weeds, life is hell. And so again, to help each other to stay up here, and 10X is a lot easier than 2X.
Let me ask you this, though. Is it an age thing? As you get older, I think you get more wise, right? Do you think that a 20-year-old can rise above it and
Absolutely. And part of our process is to have people, you check it out, and then you engage, and then you also, you get coached and mentored, and then you also mentor. So I feel that it's a new world. I call it the wisdom age, where in EOS we talk about hitting the ceiling of complexity in our business or in our department or on my own. And as a society, we've hit the ceiling of complexity. And so with the Visionary Forum, and I don't have it all figured out. I'm still client number one, and iMatter is still teaching me how to realize what matters most, clarify who I am, and follow my North Star. And so as I'm teaching the younger kids and mentoring, I'm learning from them. And again, it's a new world. Who would have thought we'd be so virtual and working, from wherever for whoever? And so I think it's actually the perfect time for the younger generation. Now, I think it's our responsibility and opportunity to mentor them and walk the talk, that to lead them into this new world and break through that ceiling of complexity. A lot of people are like, the world is crazy. I'm like, it's a great opportunity. It's a great time to be alive, but yet we need to the opportunities to embrace this world and be ourselves. And it's not easy with the lack of structure, but no, so I don't think it's an age thing. I really don't.
Talk to me about the ceiling of complexity.
So this I learned from Gino, and I'm not sure where he learned it, but there's evolution as one is growing as a person, as a company, and we're adding clients and we're learning new things, and that's all wonderful. But then once we hit a ceiling of complexity with more clients, more technology, we're now remote, there's more employees, it gets very complex. And so a lot of that is in our head. And so the reality is, if I don't break through that ceiling, I'm either going to go back to where I was before or go out of business. And so to break through the ceiling of complexity and this is EOS stuff, is to simplify, delegate and elevate, put structure in place, predictability, put systems in place so we can bust through. Because if it's all up to me, I'm gonna cap out. And so EOS talks about that. And then again, as a society, our medical institutions, our education institutions, there's a lot of things that just don't work anymore. So we've hit that ceiling. So to me, it's now, what do we do with this new world? And again, we get to create it. And Dan Sullivan talked about 20 years ago from Strategic Coach, talked about the next great battle is going to be between entrepreneurs and bureaucracy. And that's that ceiling that I feel we've hit, where we need more people and more structure and rules. And it's like, that doesn't work anymore. And so that's again where we older, I don't mean that, I don't think I've ever said I was older, but I am before, that it's for me to embrace this age and embrace this freedom where I can go watch my son's baseball game and then have a great business call on Zoom in my car. I used to be very structured, and so it's a new fluid world. So the ceiling of complexity can be for an individual, for a business, for society. And again, who better to bust through that and walk the talk than us visionaries?
I love that so much. So let me ask you, when someone is just starting out in business, maybe they're in year 2, they are the business owner, they're the technician, what kind of advice would you give someone that, like, you know, obviously are trying to put the structures in place, but they're sort of a one-man show?
One man's tough, and you pretty much have to do everything. But it's to, and again, I'm a big fan of EOS. So the book Traction, and I think you can also look online, eosworldwide.com. You can download what's called the VTO. So it's Vision Traction Organizer. It's so simple. And again, Gino is intensely simple. And I'm proud to say I kind of helped him to figure that out. But and EOS is intensely simple. But if I can't put on 2 pages, which is the Vision Traction Organizer, my core values, my why, my what, my 10-year plan, my 3-year plan, my 1-year goals, my quarterly goals, which we call rocks, and issues. And if it doesn't make sense on 2 pages, if I can't explain it to you, it probably isn't going to work. So many times you have an opportunity and I sell you on something. Okay, that's great. Is it repeatable? And then ultimately, as we start to grow, what are the seats we need in this business? And we can outsource some of those things. But ultimately, do we have a business? And then Joe Caruso, who spoke at our Visionary Summit last quarter, wrote The Power of Losing Control. He helped me years ago and said, if you're starting a business, you better know how to make money day one. So is it a business? If it's a lifestyle, you better be able to afford it. And if it's a cause, good luck. And so if it's a business, can you make money? And do you know how? And what's your runway where you've got to be able to cover overhead? But then ultimately to figure out what you're great at and love, and surround yourself with people that are better at other things than we are.
Hallelujah. What was your what was your business that you sold?
So I've been in distribution 2 times, and it was international mail, and then my was Canadian mail was our focus. So we took mail from the U.S. and then we would sort it here in Detroit, because we're actually south of Canada in one little area. But so we would sort it here and then remail it into Canada. And so we grew that very big. And then I sold my first business to the German post office. And then, being a crazy visionary, I started 3 new businesses without a business operating system. So that didn't work. Then went back into distribution and reinstituted EOS. And then also at that time is when I created iMatter, which is our life operating system. And so my calling is to help visionaries, big time visionaries who are ready for and committed to exponential growth. I help them with EOS on the business side and iMatter on the personal side. So when I started my second distribution business, I got into culture and started to teach EOS, and realized that I love working with visionaries and their leadership teams.
So just specifically visionaries.
That's my main focus. Now within EOS, we work, I'm a EOS implementer, and so we work with the leadership team. But for me, so EOS is great for any privately held company that is ready to grow and has an opportunity to grow, and they don't have all the answers, and they're struggling a little bit by just frustration. But then for me personally, it's got to be a big time visionary. So it could be a tactical entrepreneur who isn't necessarily visionary, and EOS is great. But for me specifically, I need a big time visionary that I get excited about and that I can help simplify their crazy vision.
So with the iMatter version, it's like life coaching, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you implementing, I guess, standard operating procedures for life?
Yes.
Explain that.
Well, so when I joined EO, the entrepreneur organization, we learned so much about business and a lot of stuff personal. And again, as Gino was kind of simplifying all these different great lessons for EOS, my wife and I were actually simplifying it for my life, especially me as a visionary. So without structure, I'm all over the place. And so Gino created EOS for business, and Cheryl and I created iMatter for life. And so basically, it helps people to realize what matters most, clarify who they are, and to follow their North Star. So we have our book, Unscatter the Chatter. We have online tools that people can do an online study. We have group coaching. We have a couple other coaches as well as myself that we help the visionaries to put basic, simple structure and habits in place to wake up each day and think about, okay, what's going to make today great, and a sense of wonder. And a lot of us visionaries, especially, our minds are going. And a lot of us are very driven. And as Dr. Doug Brackman wrote in his book, Driven, a lot of us are driven by the imposter syndrome. Am I good enough? And I'm only successful if I work harder than everyone. And there's definitely something to that. But if we work on the business rather than in the business, or on our life rather than in our life, and elevate our mind and our heart, it's very clear. And it's like I'm on the mountaintop. And so, but if I'm in the everyday and there's a leak in my roof on my convertible and life is over, it's like, it's just a thing. So go get it done. But what are the most important things in my life? And so to plan my day, my quarter, my year around what matters most and who matters most, it helps me to experience more joy, more love, and more freedom.
I love that. How are you getting over, and you're the perfect guy to talk to about this. How do you get over that sense of when you've always been on the grind, you've been grinding and grinding and grinding, and you're doing well, right? And I just had a podcast with a friend of mine who blew up his AC business. I mean, amazing. But he's still like in the day-to-day. He's still in the day-to-day. But like there's a sense of pride, right? And I guess that you're going to talk to me about letting go of the vine, I guess.
Right.
How do you do that? How do you let go?
Well, so our process in iMatter, and even to a sense, the Visionary Forum, is the visionary who is ready to go to that next level, and it's the person who is ready for and committed to that. So we have a process that we take people through, and for me, it starts on the business, because if I am stressed at work and I have to make payroll next month, or even if I'm just the first one in, last one out, and feel like I have to be in every meeting, I'm not taking care of my wife and my kids and my health. So for me, the first step is to create a business system. So for me, it's EOS. There's other ones out there. To take part in a life operating system or a spiritual operating system, to join a relevant peer group where you can share and learn and grow together and expedite the synchronicity. And this is all the enlightened visionary. And then to allow yourself to be coached and be mentored. And then ultimately to mentor and coach others. And then become an authentic thought leader. So in distribution, I was a thought leader, but I wasn't a thought leader in distribution. I was more of a thought leader. Yeah, I simplified distribution, but I was a thought leader for culture. So I talked to people, my prospects and my clients, about culture, and I got more distribution business because of it. And then a lot of visionaries have a hard time letting go of the vine and letting others who are better at it than we are, and get our ego out of the way, and bring in people who are more experienced and are experts at these things, and let them do it. So, but I have a hard time letting go of the vine if I don't know what life beyond the vine is. So part of it is knowing my purpose. And when I know that, my purpose is also to be a great father and a great community leader, and being a great husband and making a difference in the world. And a lot of us visionary entrepreneurs, my job is to be the first one in and the last one out. And so we talk about letting go of the vine. And so a lot of times to take a couple months sabbatical, and you can't do this right away, but once you have enough of a team in place to say, I'm going to be gone for a month, and if this happens or that happens, let me know. Otherwise, take care of it. And like one of my clients who came on for EOS, she said, all right, in a year, I'm taking 2 months off. So they had a year to be able to survive without the visionary for 2 months. So that, expedited their learning curve to say, okay, if Bob's not going to be here or Donna's not going to be here, what does that look like? So then we had to document, well, how do I do invoices? Okay. And then people could do invoices in 15 minutes. It took me 2 hours, and it stressed me out because I wasn't good at it. And someone else to document processes. And so we got it out of my head. And then it was a very weird thing to be gone for 2 months. So I did that about 20 years ago. I took 2 months off, came back, and my company was like, well, we're glad you're back, but we don't want you doing all the stuff you were doing before. I was like, well, what am I going to do? And they said, well, what you're great at and love. And I didn't know. And that's when I really created iMatter, because I said, I need to know what's my why, what's my what, and what's my how. And that's when I'm like, well, I'm really good at entertaining clients, and I'm really good at solving problems and connecting the dots and connecting other people. They're like, yeah, go do that. And we grew our business exponentially. So again, this takes a little while to get the people in the process, but again, let go of the mind. And a lot of visionaries feel, well, as soon as I sell my business for 10 million or 20 million, then I'm going to step into my greatness. And what we're saying is step into your greatness now, and so I don't want to necessarily get great at things that I'm not good at. I want to outsource that or delegate that. So then I'm in this spot and I have an amazing billing person and financial and a great salesperson and a great ops person. So I can be up here. And again, a lot of us are like, well, but all I have to do is connect with people and talk a lot and connect and have fun. It's like, yeah. And if it helps drive the business, woohoo.
That's awesome. You should write a book.
I did. I don't have here. Unscatter the chatter.
Yes, Unscatter the chatter, guys.
Yeah,
listen, if you're out there and you're listening, and you should be, and you're a visionary out there, you should reach out to Bob and get into the Visionary Forum. Like I said, I started 2.5 months ago. I have to say, and I'm also involved in another group called Evolve Men. I'm also reading really heavy, but I will tell you, in the last 2.5 months, I grew my business 177%. And it is most definitely because I am stepping out of the day-to-day and focusing on the 10x is easier than 2x. And it is weird. It is weird to step out of the doing, right?
It's hard.
And to be like, hey, no, I'm trying to work on the bigger things so that we can exponentially grow instead of incrementally, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So I highly recommend that. And then talk to me about this summit that you guys got coming up in September.
Yeah, the Visionary Summit, we do it twice a year. The next one is September 11th through the 13th, and we have 3 great presenters that not only are going to share their wisdom, but they're also students as well. So they're teaching and learning. So it's 48 hours of all things visionary. And so it's a workshop, and it's a lot of fun, and we're sharing different things. The theme this year, or for this one, is Unscatter the Chatter, and it's engaging the magic. And so we do different group exercises with different people, so we get to know each other and help simplify our message for our why, what, and how. And then again, so if you and I are in the group, and then someone needs great video marketing, I can be like, and I know your target market, I'm like, you got to talk to Armando. And that's what we visionaries, not only are we good at connecting and like to connect, we have to connect. So for visionaries and our target market, again, it's for big time visionaries ready for and committed to exponential growth, but they love to connect. They want to connect. They want to help, and they want to learn and grow. That's our target market. So we do that twice a year. We also have the mountain retreat, which is 3 times a year. That's 4 days out in Colorado. That's more of a spiritual retreat. And again, we do coaching with visionaries as well. So, and it's not just, and again, when you asked about the age, I'm here to elevate the entrepreneurial spirit, and not just with adult visionaries, with my kids. It's like, what is your vision? What do you want to do when you graduate? Where do you want to go to school? My son's looking at schools right now to play baseball, and he's starting to figure out what matters most to him. So he's starting to think about his vision. And it's like, it's okay to dream, and it's okay to go out of state, or it's okay to go here or there. And so we all have visionary in us. And so again, it's an opportunity for us visionaries to walk the talk in the forum and the summit, and then with our families and our communities.
You're such a light.
Thank you.
You're such a light, man. That's really cool. It's so funny how someone can say something to you and it hits, right? And it's like, boom, oh, wow. I was in a, do you remember Clubhouse? I mean, it's still around, but it's one of those apps, social media platforms, but it's just all audio. And like somebody has a
Right.
stage, and there were some public speakers in there, and they were saying, one of the speakers said, don't allow your own hangups and your imposter syndrome to stop you from spreading your message, because it's going to resonate with someone. And we
Right.
could be talking about the same things, right? Like we could have the same speech, word for word, verbatim, but somebody may not hear it coming from me.
Right.
They'll hear it
Yep.
coming from you, you know? So it's just, you know, it's such a cool thing to hear you speak like with that passion. And it's like, oh yeah, you know what? It is. We should all dream. And that's what we need more of in this life, I think, is more of that, you know.
Well, and I think, like, again, I mentioned that we're at this ceiling of complexity, and there's so much divisiveness and separation, and media and government that are saying, that they need to take care of you, and you don't, you can do it. So to me, it's all about what can we do together, and inclusiveness, and not to be afraid of life. And, life to me is to be lived and to learn, and again to experience joy, love, and freedom. And a lot of people are in fear, and most of us visionaries, not that we don't have fear, but we're so excited for life. And so to go and live that life is amazing, and to share it with others, our employees. And I feel each of us visionaries, we touch about between 1,000 and 10,000 people with our clients and our social media and our vendors and our community. And so as us visionaries are stepping up, and people are like, that sounds awesome. And I'm like, thanks, it is, or it must be nice. And I'm like, well, that you're so successful. I'm like, why do you think I'm successful? And they're like, well, you act like it. I'm like, well, that's true. But it doesn't mean that you have to have, 100 million in the bank or 10 million in the bank. It's an attitude. Our 7 lifetime expanders in our book are to create great relationships, choose your tude, that's positivity, to realize what matters most, clarify who you are, to follow your North Star, to live your legacy now, and to be regardless. And so, so that's what the book talks about, those lifetime expanders. And my kids can do it. My employees can do it. And it's just it's a magical time to be alive.
It is a magical time to be alive. I see so many people, just complaining on
Right.
Facebook. And I'm like, I think you got the wrong lens on. I think you got
Right.
the wrong glasses on, because it's pretty amazing right now. Like, if you look around, I mean, good Lord, we're having a conversation. You're in Detroit. I'm here in New
Yep.
Orleans. We're real time.
Right.
Like I'm connecting with you on a regular basis. I mean,
Right.
we're global now. I got clients that that I'm meeting in Germany, and it's mind blowing, right?
Right.
Why do you think
Yep.
people stay, I guess, in that underneath that cloud?
It's a friend of mine wrote a rock opera called The Ladder, and he talked about to step into our bliss and let go of the comfortableness. So it's that familiarity that I think people think they're happier to stay here, as opposed to having the courage to try new things and the wonder and curiosity. And again, that's part of our brilliance as visionaries. Now, it's also part of our potential downfall if we don't have a team and a process in place. So if all I do is try everything every day, okay, that may not work, but to have a plan and share it and build a team, that's awesome. But I think people are just, and I think, again, what media has been doing these last few years is saying, stay inside and don't, something could happen. It's like, something could happen, and it could be great.
Yeah, it
And
could
if
be
it's not,
great. Yeah, it could be really
and
wonderful.
if it's not, I can learn from it. And we talk about, imagine this great future, and get my conscious and subconscious getting excited to say, there's opportunity, and then to improve on the past and not regret it, but learn from it, so I can impact this moment right now. And that to me is what it's all about. And then being here with you and smiling with you and thinking, like, what can I do for Armando, and what can we do together for the world? That is almost a presence of God, that if we're present and we're supporting, and I feel heard and you feel heard, That's magic. And so I think that's what's been missing. And yes, Zoom is great in different ways, but also to still have that connection and that again, it's a great opportunity. I think people are just in fear, and I think that fear is being pushed down, especially to our kids.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, it really does. I have some young kids that work for me. Young kids, they're 21, but I call them young. They're young
right?
kids,
Yeah,
and I'm having to just get them to unlearn so much
right,
because it's just like it's doom and gloom, and it's like, well,
right.
it's not really. It's not really doom and gloom,
Yeah,
man. There's so much
right. Well,
opportunity. There's so much
yeah,
abundance.
my daughter is all about collaboration and love and connection and serving. And so with the thing that happened a few years ago, whatever they called it, I mean, she really felt isolated at school. And finally, she said, enough's enough, and I'm going to live life. And she trusted God and herself and the community. She just got back from 3 months in Germany on a mission trip. She was home for a week, and now she's backpacking through the mountains of Colorado, and she's living life. And it's interesting because I actually one of my life changing moments was 2 years ago. 2 years ago today, dude, I had a stroke and literally woke up and at 3 in the morning and went to the bathroom and I'm like, oh, I feel weird. And I lied back in bed and I'm like, Cheryl, something's not right. And she turned on the light. She's like, holy shit, you're having a stroke. My face, I mean, my whole left side of the body went, I couldn't, was paralyzed.
Oh wow.
Had to call my then 15-year-old and she called and said, talk to dad. I got to call 911. And I'm in the ambulance and I'm like, all right, God, is this it? And I really haven't talked to God a lot before, and I believe in something greater, but I got a resounding, this isn't it, dude. I was like, yes. And I'm like, because I have so much to teach, and I got to know. And I'm like, well, why am I here? And it was because I have so much to learn. And it was that to learn what I'm teaching. He's like, this is real basic stuff, and it's real. Just do it. And so I was getting here in Michigan, we got locked down hard and my daughter was frustrated and my son was like, I don't want to go to school anymore. And finally I'm just like, we can't do this anymore. And so fortunately my wife gave me a homeopathic remedy while I was in intensive care, and in 3 minutes I could move the left side. I was out in a day. Got all these tests and they said it was kind of a fluke, but I was like, enough's enough, I'm going to go live life. And again, it's because that we were getting so shut down and that's so much fear going on in the world. And I ask a lot of visionaries, what's our main role as visionary? And somebody said it's to give people hope, and that, to give them confidence. And I think that is so much. It's hope and confidence for society, for our business, for our lives. And if you're not happy about something, do something about it. Don't just bitch. But again, sense of wonder and curiosity. It's again, it's awesome to be alive.
Dude, that's an amazing story. I'm glad you're
Thanks.
here.
Well, thank you. Me too. And even my wife texted me today, and she said, "This is a celebration." Another one of my friends called it a stroke of genius. That it was, and it really was. I mean, and someone asked me once, "Can someone truly be enlightened and figure out the spiritual world without a life-changing event like that?" And I think it is possible. But that was a wake-up call because you never know. And I'm going to go down with a smile on my face without regrets and to say, you know what, this is why I'm here and I'm going to live it. And if people don't love it, unfortunately, I'm going to keep doing it and keep being it.
Bob, that's great. Tell them where they can find you.
Yeah, iMatter.com is our website. If you want to email Bob at iMatter.com. Again, if you're a visionary or don't know if you're a visionary, reach out and either myself or my team will share some insights. Unscatter the Chatter is our book, which you can get at our iMatter.com website. TheVisionaryForum.com is our website for the Visionary Forum. So those are the two things that I'm just very passionate about. And ultimately, the big picture, I talk a lot about visionaries. And what's another demographic similar to visionaries? It's kids. And we visionaries are pretty much just big kids. And so as we're figuring out this process and gaining momentum and building this community, that's where I ultimately want to be, is to help kids know they matter. Because usually they kind of do early on, and then parents are distracted and society and teachers and media, and they lose their creativity and sense of worth. And so my job is to help, millions and billions to know they matter. And ultimately it's with kids. So next couple of years as visionaries, and then just see how we're going to roll out and help kids know they matter.
You are a light. You can tell immediately. It's very, 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 very awesome. I'm just happy to be here, man. I'm just
Thank you.
happy to be to know you and to be part of your world. So grateful for that for sure.
Thank you, and I'm grateful for you and all the other visionaries that have the courage to live life.
Heard that. All right, y'all. Follow Bob. Look at his social media. Get involved because the guy has got so much going on, such a positive and light. And I really appreciate you being on the show today.
Thank you. I appreciate you and appreciate our time together. We'll talk soon.
All right. All right. And that was Spaghetti on the Wall, ladies and gentlemen, again with Bob, Coach Bob. And it's brought to you by Leduc Entertainment. For all of your digital marketing needs, social media, podcasting, we got you. And you can watch Spaghetti on the Wall anywhere, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music. Google it. Just Google it. We're all over the place. We just reached 100 episodes, Bob.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you. So I look forward to seeing you soon.